My name is Brittany Dennis, and I'm going to be summarizing for you an article that I found in The Economist about energy reform in Mexico. On August 12th, President Peña of Mexico proposed to change the constitution to allow private investment in Mexico's oil industry for the first time since the 1960s. This stems from the fact that Mexico is quickly running out of easy-to-access oil in the shallow waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Pemex, the national gas monopoly and oil monopoly of Mexico, has neither the funds nor the expertise to take advantage of the shale and deepwater deposits that have proven to be so bountiful for the United States. Therefore, they need partners. But this proposal leaves a big question: precisely what terms will Mexico seek to attract private investment? Mr. Peña's immediate priority, however, is to change the constitution to end a ban on private contracts in upstream oil and gas development. Downstream, he wants to end Pemex's monopoly in refining, shipping, and petrochemicals, which bleed money from the economy. A reform of the electricity market also is proposed that would enable private firms to generate power, but this still will remain in the grip of the Federal Electricity Commission. Because there are sensitivities over ownership of oil, what the government plans to offer investors is a share in the profits of the oil and gas they produce rather than the stuff itself. This has caused disappointment, but the difference between profit and production sharing may just be semantic, especially if profits are based on the price of a barrel of gas, because that could count as reserves. What worries people the most, though, is that Mr. Peña will focus on constitutional changes while the discussion of the nitty-gritty, such as what share of the profits companies will be offered, is left to the secondary legislation in Congress. Oil companies have been burned before in countries like Venezuela, and they will be wary of anything that looks like legal or political fudge. Juan Carlos of the Oxford Institute for Energy Studies says in the article, the companies would be quite rational in saying, we're not putting a cent until we know we have a watertight contract. Therefore, it may be a while before reforms can actually boost oil and gas production, which has fallen tremendously over the past decade. But before the reform can actually come through, Mr. Peña, he has his work cut out to change the Constitution. His Institutional Revolutionary Party, PRI, and its small coalition partners, the Conservative National Action Party, PAN, have enough votes between them that they can win the two-thirds majority needed in the upper and lower level Congresses to change the Constitution, and they also dominate the state legislatures. However, PAN favors a bolder approach to reform, involving paying concessions, and PRI is stuffed with oil nationalists. And to keep PRI's union supporters on side, officials say none of Pemex's 151,000 workers, some of who are, quote, spectacularly unproductive, unquote, will be laid off. There are also several threats to this reform, one coming from the left-leaning party of the Democratic Revolution, which insists that Mr. Peña simply wants to strangle out Pemex. Another even bigger threat to the reform comes from the streets. An army of left-wing nationalists loyal to Andrés López Obrador, who came in second to Mr. Peña in last year's presidential election, they plan to stage protests in Mexico City in the coming weeks. And although Mr. Lopez no longer belongs to a big political party, oil and gas reform could give him the powerful populist platform that he needs to create havoc in the government. Though this reform seeks many oppositions, a video was put out by Mr. Peña's office this week insisting the oil is ours. Though the president, though, does need to explain why this reform will be different from some of the other headline-grabbing privatizations of the 1990s, which lacked a lot of transparency and left a bad taste in people's mouth. Given Mexico's sinking oil production, however, this is a step in the right direction. people just need to be open and open to discussion about it. And the more open that people are, the better that this will be for Mexico's economy and for reviving oil production in Mexico.